Video games and hip-hop go hand in hand. Of course, I remember the first time I ever heard a video game reference in a hip-hop song, Notorious B.I.G., Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. When I was dead broke, man, I couldn't picture this. And it always stuck with me. I always thought it was so cool that Biggie was sitting there playing video games as a kid growing up. And of course, there's been tons of references through hip-hop and video games throughout the years because video games are fun. Video games are for everyone, and people love to play video games. Well, a rapper by the name of Soulja Boy is a big video gamer. Now, admittedly, I'm not a Soulja Boy fan. I never really got into his music. It was just kind of not my cup of tea. I prefer people like Big L, Big Pun, Notorious B.I.G., Tupac, 3 6 Mafia. You know, music that has a little bit more meaning than something like Crank That Soulja Boy. But I definitely understood the appeal of Soulja Boy. You know, it was targeting that young white audience, those girls who just like to dance or whatever. So it had a good beat to it, and that's why it became so popular. Well, Soulja Boy is admittedly a big video gamer. He's been at events like E3. He's got a lot of involvement in video games. But now Soulja Boy is actually getting into the video game console market. I'm not joking. Soulja Boy is making two products called the SouljaGame, and there's a lot of red flags going on about this. I really feel like his team didn't investigate this well and just let Soulja Boy put his likeness on there. And there's a lot of red flags with this, and it's going to get him in a world of trouble if he pursues this avenue. So what is the SouljaGame console? The SouljaGame Handheld? Sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, Superman that hoe, and let's get into the SouljaGame console.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards! So going over to the website SouljaWatch.com, you see that there are a bunch of different products here that he has listed. He has the SouljaWatch, the Soulja headphones, wireless Bluetooth, the Soulja Pad, the Soulja phone, a gift card to his shop, some earbuds, and then of course these two video game consoles. You can see that one, the home console is on sale for $150 and the handheld is on sale for $99. So let's take a look at the SouljaGame console. Now, first looking at this console, you can see that it is clearly inspired visually by the Xbox One. It looks like a cheap Chinese knockoff of an Xbox One S. It has that same sort of style to it. It actually looks exactly like my Xbox One. You can see that it has the front USB slots to put in your controllers, and then looking at the front of the image, you can see that it has a power button, the two slots, and it looks exactly like an Xbox One. Now, looking at the controller of this, that controller looks pretty familiar. Okay, I've definitely seen that controller before. Maybe that should have been included with the PS Classic, but looking at the game keys, you can see that there's the key A to ensure and key B to exit, because, you know, ensuring things is very, very important. And then you have a promotional picture here showing the HD game that supports Ultra HD 4K HDMI. I'm sure it totally supports native 4K on this system. This is the first native 4K system out onto the market. Screw you, Xbox, screw you, Sony, screw you, Nintendo. Soulja Boy is the one doing big things out here. It supports 4K HDMI AV out, gaming support, 1280p, 720p at 60 frames per second, game speed, FPS 1-to-1 output, perfect and fluent. Okay, it is a Linux-based system with pre-installed 800 classic games. Ooh, that sounds a bit troubling. So looking at the system, you can see that it comes with an HDMI cable, some composite cables, a couple controllers, a power supply, and then the system. You can look at the back of the system and see where you plug in an SD card, you can plug in your HDMI, you can plug in your AV cables, and of course your power supply. And then it shows it with pictures, and then there is this image that features a character from Tekken, because I'm sure they had full rights to access Tekken characters with this game. It once again says Linux 3.0 operating system, pre-installed 500 classic games, supports PS1 plus arcade games that has the different Capcom and Neo Geo arcade emulators, GBA, Super Famicom, Sega, NES, Game Boy Color, Game Boy, Game Gear, Sega Master System games, ultra large capacity support a TF memory card, max of up to 32 gigabytes. Now, I see a lot of red flags with this because, yeah, it's pretty much a cheap Chinese knockoff console. But Soulja Boy, did you not see the whole thing with Nintendo and Love ROMs? Did you not see how Nintendo cracked down on Love ROMs and sued a couple for $12 million and won that in court? Obviously, the couple probably does not have $12 million, and that was just for using their ROMs and emulators on their website where they were making revenue based on ads and things like that. You were pretty much selling a system pre-installed with NES and Super Famicom and Game Boy Advance ROMs. That's not a good look, dude. Like, you think Nintendo isn't watching this with their Nintendo ninjas, like looking out into the atmosphere, looking for potential losses? Like, Soulja Boy, you got money, dude. You got a lot of money. And so Nintendo is not going to like this. But, you know, it's clearly a cheap Chinese knockoff system. Now let's take a look at the handheld portion of the system. The handheld portion is on sale for $99, and it says type for Switch, 3DS, Vita, Neo Geo, Game Boy. Okay, this thing is not playing Switch games. Thing is not playing Vita games on it. Like, that's just false advertising right out of the box. So looking at the system, you can see, once again, pretty much a cheap Chinese knockoff system. Looking at the picture here, you can see that there's a direction key because, you know, spell checking things before you try to sell them for $100. That's not really important. It has a USB slot, a backlight adjustment, AV out, EXT1, okay? It has the buttons on here, X, A, B, Y. It has R and L triggers as well. It has a speaker, it has a volume button, a reset button, headphone slot, a TF card slot, a hand rope hole. That's very important because I like to have a good hand rope when playing my mobile consoles. Looking at the system, it also will plug up to your television and play, like, what is that, FIFA Street? Like, is that coming back? Support converting to TV, not connecting, converting to your TV. Supports RM, RMVB, AVI, and MKV. Game speed is 1-to-1 output because I'm sure playing these HD games, playing these Switch games in composite is going to look absolutely fantastic because you can play Switch and Vita on this thing according to Mr. Soulja Boy. Now, looking on, it has 3,000 built-in games from the Neo Geo, the GBA, the Game Boy Color, the Famicom, the CP1, and the Mega Drive. Evidently, it's also going to have Burnout or Road Rash on there or something. And then looking in the background, you can see all of these illegal ROMs. You can see Konami Kart Racers, The Incredibles. You can see a Pokemon game. You can see, is that a Zelda game? Is that a Zelda game? Like, what are you doing here? Now, this thing comes with 3,000 built-in games and is $99.99. And the crazy thing is, these are Aliexpress systems. If you go over to Aliexpress, you can actually see these systems on sale, and they're actually cheaper than what Soulja Boy is selling them for. Heading over to Aliexpress, you can see the Gamebox HD Video 4K game console, built-in 800 games, 64-bit HDMI TV output, retro family TV game player. Wow, that's a hell of a name. And you can see that this is clearly the exact same system, but in black. It has the same controller. It has the same features. It has the same sort of branding and everything. It has the same marketing material. It even has the insure button on it. And it's available for only $82.99. Now, Mr. Soulja Boy is selling his system for $149.99. So really, he's just importing these things from AliExpress, rebranding them slightly and calling it his own game console, and then releasing it into the market, which is just so sleazy. It's so shady. I understand that Soulja Boy probably did not have much hands-on involvement in this. Someone probably came up to him and said, hey, you know, somebody in his marketing team said, hey, you know what, there's a retro gaming boom right now. We could get in on this. We could sell a product and we can get it for pretty cheap from China. And he was like, okay, cool, you know, whatever. I trust you guys. But somebody in Soulja Boy's team needs to know that this is not going to fly. People can easily get this system from AliExpress. But the real issue is Soulja Boy is selling these systems with NES ROMs and Game Boy Advance ROMs and Super Famicom ROMs. And Nintendo is just salivating over opportunities like this. They took down Love ROMs for $12 million. I'm sure they could get a lot more money out of Soulja Boy with this. It's really just a case of his team probably not understanding how retro gaming works, understanding licensing and things like that. And obviously a lot of hip-hop artists want to get into the entrepreneurial side of things. You know, you look at people like Chamillionaire and Jay-Z, they really sort of transcended just hip-hop by getting into the entrepreneurial side of things and really making more money, lasting money and valuable money. So Soulja Boy probably thought that this was going to be a good idea, a good little Christmas gift, stocking stuffer sort of thing. But obviously the research did not go into this because these are just cheaply branded AliExpress systems. So Soulja Boy, if you happen to watch this video, which I highly doubt you will, I would probably pull the plug on these before some lawsuits show up at your doorstep, because obviously Nintendo is willing to go after anyone, and I think Nintendo would like to make a claim against you on these systems for illegally selling their ROMs on these systems out of the US, because this could just be a very bad situation for you. So yes, Honestly, I would avoid the SouljaGame Handheld and the SouljaGame console. I would not put these under your Christmas tree because obviously they're just cheap Chinese knockoffs that probably do not do native 4K. I know that that's a shock. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on the SouljaGame Handheld and the SouljaGame console. It's obviously a scam. It's obviously just rebranded AliExpress stuff, and I would not waste your money on this. But let me know what you think of this situation in the comments section down below. Do you think Soulja Boy could feel some heat from Nintendo for doing something like this with releasing a system with their ROMs on the system? Because obviously they're going after all these emulation sites. Why not start going after these manufacturing websites who are making these systems that have their ROMs preloaded into them? And as always, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.